Have you ever been surrounded by people and feel like you have no one to talk to? Wandering through a sea of friends, and you feel the crushing weight of loneliness, and it seems like it's unwavering and unescapable. I wish I didn't know what I was talking about. But I've been down and out. I've seen those dark, depressing roads that are lined with well-meaning, friendly people who just don't understand that you're hurting. And you feel like you can't tell them for whatever reason you have, and whether you're afraid that what they'll think of you, or perhaps you can't because you think it's going to hurt them somehow. So you do what? What do? You bottle it up inside. You bury it. Dig a pit and chuck those worries and all that pain just as far as it will fall, and then you fill it in. And you tamp it down, never to see it again, right? That's our hope. However, I've made a discovery. It doesn't go away. Nor does it stay buried where you want it to be. No matter how deep you bury it, it always wriggles and rises to the surface. Kind of like the proverbial bad penny, right? There's just one way that I have found that works to get rid of it. Jesus works. And in order to do that, you have to talk to him. He won't just take it. He won't just take it. Now, whether you want him to or not, he'll not just take it from you. He's a consummate gentleman. You have to give it to him. And he will accept it. He says he will. And that's going to take prayer. Gotta pray. And that's the title of this message. It's another one of those 5 steps to righteousness I was talking about. Yeah, in 5 easy steps, remember, that aren't always very easy. This series of messages has required a lot of introspection. And I sure hope the introspection is a word, because that's what it's required. The integrity, faith, obedience, prayer, and the next one I'll work on is love and forgiveness. It's taken a lot of looking inside, especially this one, prayer. Oh, I do pray. I pray for my family, and I pray for my friends and my nation. And I pray for you too. I pray for all of you. But do I really pray enough? I mean, you have to talk to God. But so many other things occupy our time, and one of these things. Who all has got one of these? Sometimes we have 2, because one is just never enough. Now, I've had this phone since the middle of November or so, and I have 11 hours, 12 minutes, and 23 seconds. That was of yesterday about this time. That's how much time I've spent talking on it. That includes all outgoing messages, incoming, voicemails. Anytime I talk on that thing, there it is. And that's roughly 3 months of usage. And I bet that I've sent or received 3,000 texts, especially when you consider that I really receive daily texts and reports on our prayer line, which I still find just as awesome as the day we started that thing. And I think I keep referring to you as prayer warriors, our elite special forces prayer people, which at one point were all over the country. We had from one coast to the other, just about, people praying. Back to the point. Have I spent 11 hours, 12 minutes, and 23 seconds calling or receiving calls with God? I thought about that. I said, yikes. That really puts things into perspective. That's not even counting like YouTube or anything. Did I pick up on his texts? Did I miss his voicemails? Did I accidentally block his calls? Maybe he's not still using beepers, right? Anybody recognize what that is? It's been a while. in a while. No, we have to pray. Prayer. What is the purpose of prayer? It's not just to look pious. Remember Jesus getting after all the rich folk who were more concerned about how they looked or their status rather than the content of their prayer? Remember the one guy there? Well, Lord, thank you, I'm not like those sinners over there. Yeah, you just made yourself a little worse in my opinion. But prayer is sometimes overlooked. It's really sad to say, but it is. Prayer is so much more than just talking with God. Although talking with God is important. Prayer is talking. Prayer is listening to God. Prayer is worshiping God. Prayer is praising God. Prayer is a lifeline between you and God, and it's a direct line. We don't have to dial. We just pick up the phone and start talking. He's there. So what is it to you? What is prayer? Prayer serves three distinct functions. Probably more than that, but three jumped out at me. The first is, I had to put that in there. I thought it was cute. Prayer is us talking to God wirelessly. We don't need a landline for that one. And this includes us pleading for healing, for guidance. This is what originates in our hearts and rises to Him on the voices of our spirits and spirits. The next is God talking to us. This includes any response to our prayer, whether it be healing, guidance, comfort, a change in our situation, any answer to prayer, and yes, it also includes the word no. The third and last that I have here, usually the most overlooked, is our praise and worship. And we'll go through each of these a bit today, although each could be a message all in itself. And I have to start with a question. According to virtually every single source of counseling or marital advice giver ever, what is the key to any successful marriage? Is it money? Good looks? Oh, how'd that get in there? Sorry. Is it being famous? It's not being famous either. A lot of famous people out there, and they didn't stay married very long. And they had money, and they had good looks. They had everything going for them. Yet, some of those don't even last a week. Everybody knows that if you want to be a husband and wife and keep it that way until death do us part, among other things, you have to communicate. It's that big word right there. And so everybody knows where I'm going with this one. But that's okay, because I have till noon or 1 or 2 or so to talk it out anyway. We are the bride of Christ. And if we are the bride of Christ, can we expect our relationship with Him to be fruitful without communication? Because communication is a two-way street. It's got to go both ways, or it's not communicating. It's just talking at. And we've all been there too. So to communicate, we have to talk with God. Now, has anybody heard the song, Gonna Have a Little Talk with Jesus? I think it was the Gaithers, was it? Statler Brothers. The Statler Brothers. And I won't sing it to you. I won't play it because I want to put... I won't play it for you because I want to put extra emphasis on the songs. And I won't sing it to you because I want you to be able to hear the rest of my message. I once was lost in sin, but Jesus took me in. Then a little light from heaven filled my soul. He bathed my heart in love, and He wrote my name above. Just a little talk with Jesus makes me whole. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him about all our troubles. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. And when you feel a little prayer wheel turning, you know that a little fire is burning. Find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. I may have doubts and fears. My eye may be filled with tears. But Jesus is a friend who watches day and night. I go to him in prayer. He knows my every care. Just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all our troubles. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel a little prayer wheel turning, you know a little fire is burning. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him about all our troubles. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel a little prayer wheel turning, you will know a little fire is burning. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Right, right, right. And that could have been the entire sermon right there. It is more than just a conversation, yes. But talking with God, who's to say that you can't have a conversation with God? It does make telling jokes really hard when he's literally heard them all. But when he says you can go to him for anything, he means it. What if all you need is just somebody to talk to? Why can't you talk to him? You know, we hear messages about salvation. I mean, that's awesome. We do need to hear that. That's super important. It's critical. We hear about prayers for healing, and that's cool. We need to hear that. That's great. That is something we need to hear about. It's fundamental to our faith. Same with all the gifts of the Spirit. But you know what I haven't heard a lot about? I hear it mentioned in passing, and I've listened to people who do it. But just conversing with the Lord. Hello, Lord. It's a beautiful day. Thanks for letting me enjoy it. But Jesus, not to complain, but that toast, it was awful. I wish I would learn to pay more attention to it so it wouldn't burn. I feel sorry for the kids for having to eat them. Hey, no laughing. You weren't laughing then. I'm just kidding. I didn't make them eat that. I sure had a hard time getting up this morning. You know, Lord, and that so-and-so at work, he's really starting to bug the snot out of me. I know I shouldn't let it get to me, but I'm really struggling to hold my temper. I hope I can get everything done today that I need to get accomplished. You know, sometimes like that, not really asking for anything, but just telling him about the day, your hopes, your thoughts. Even though he was right there beside you, just talking with him about it. Like your best friend. You know, that friend that you could tell everything? And I'm standing up here and I'm telling you that if you didn't know, you can do just that. And if you did know that, that's cool. And for those of you who do just that, I commend you. And I'm so happy you have Jesus as your friend. And it moves me to see you have that deeper relationship. That's our goal. But you know, for myself, one of those little sticking points, the problems I have with it, not with that. I have a problem, I have a need for that tell me anything type of relationship with Jesus. I need that. Because sometimes I don't ask for help. I don't ask for help for somebody because I don't like being that guy who the only time you ever hear from him is when he needs something. And that's silly, I guess. It really is. Especially when I like being that guy that feels good about dropping what I'm doing and going to help somebody else. I don't know how to describe how it feels to drop and do and drop and help, except to say it's a way that when somebody does it for me, I think, wow, that person really cares for me, that they're willing to do that for me. And I want to show people, I want to show them that, hey, I'll help. Not because I have nothing better to do, because I care about them and I want them to feel that feeling. And I do need to tell a little testimony about that particular paragraph. When I wasn't sure how that was going to sound, so I read it to Miranda. I read half of it to Miranda, because I got halfway through and I got to be about that part where I said, I like being that guy. And exactly right then, my phone rang, and it was my dad saying one of our friends had gotten stuck and needed somebody to come who had a towing chain, which was me, needed somebody to come pull them out right then during that sentence. And it was like God saying, all right, Luke, you said it. Now put your money where your mouth is. And so we went and pulled him out. It actually was kind of fun because I made Zachary do all the work. And I just sat there and pulled out. He's really good at that too. But God doesn't think about people that way about, well, you only come to me when you need something. He doesn't feel that way. He says, come to me with your burdens, and he'll hear you. And I can prove through God's own words that he will. Here in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, 14 through 16, and I'm using the New King James Version, it says, if my people who are called by my name, that's us, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to prayer made in this place. For now I have chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever. My eyes and my heart will be there perpetually. Now race me to Corinthians. I won. Just kidding. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, 16 through 17. Do you not know that you are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. And also 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. Your body is the temple. Follow me? There are several places in the Bible where it literally reads, I prayed from the temple and you heard my voice. If you say a prayer, it doesn't have to be here in the church, because you are the temple. Jesus is with you wherever you go. He will hear you. And even more, I suggest he's there, and often we don't acknowledge him. Let me put it this way. What if you were walking around with your best friend or friends, and nobody acknowledged your presence? They ignored you, did things that continually bugged you. You would probably be hurt. Why would Jesus feel any different than we would? So you could talk to him as a friend. We can ask of him, and he will give, whether it be healing or wisdom. And that is where our faith comes into play. Our faith, our trust. So we need to talk to Jesus, yes. And we know about that. We ask him things, but what else? What else is there in prayer? We have to listen to him. And that's even harder than talking to him. It's actually the hardest part for me, because I like to talk. I'll talk your ear off. The problem is getting me to be quiet long enough to get a word in it. Hey. Shh. The problem is for me to be quiet long enough for you to get a word in edgewise. So when I pray, it's really hard to present my prayer to God and then go on thinking, mission accomplished. It's hard for me sometimes to be still and listen for him. But God does say to listen. In Psalm 81, verses 14, or 10 through 14, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it. But my people would not heed my voice, and Israel would have none of me. So I gave them over to their stubborn heart to walk in their own counsels. Oh, that my people would listen to me, that Israel would walk in my ways. I would soon subdue their enemies and turn my hand against their adversaries. With that verse, you can see how seriously God takes our hearkening to his voice. He's not just talking to Israel, he's talking to us. Honoring our Father. Obeying, not just listening. Remember we talked about, hearing, doing what mom says, not just hearing her words, or your dad. He said to listen and walk in his ways. In Jeremiah chapter 7, verses 22 through 23, it says, For I did not speak to your fathers or command them in the day I brought them out of the land of Egypt concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this is what I commanded them, saying, Obey my voice, and I will be your God, and you shall be my people, and walk in all the ways I have commanded you, that it may be well with you. He tells you the how and why, and the what. Why would it be any different when he speaks to us? He is interested in how our relationship for more than just good works. Tithing is important, and so is being present here at church. And your singing is wonderful, and your attentiveness during the service is amazing. There's been very few snores. But God says he wants you, not your pocketbook. If he wanted that, he could just take it. Not your singing or your physical presence. He wants you. Your tithing is a byproduct of your faith and obedience, and your singing is much more than your voice. And you could sleep through me droning on and on up here, and God will still love you. So listen. Truly listen to his voice. That is the obedience to your faith, that your integrity gives you that stick-to-itness to hold on to, stick with. Which leads me to the final function of prayer that we're discussing today, our worship and praise. Now, you may not think much about the worship music. It may not be your style. You may not care for your voice. You may not care for your neighbor's voice. But that's okay, because they're not singing for you, and nor are you singing for them. You are singing to God, and as far as your voice goes, he's tone deaf. Because you know what he hears? He hears your hearts, not your vocal cords. You could have no vocal cords at all and be singing, and God would hear you. Loud and clear. Like you're Paul Wilbur. That guy's got a voice on him. That's what I sound like to God. So when it sounds during the worship portion of our service here, what sounded like someone strangling a bullfrog back in the sound booth, be not afraid, it's just me singing. God hears your heart when you sing. He hears your heart when you pray. And if you will listen, he'll speak to your heart. And he's faithful in all of his promises. So don't be afraid to sing your heart out. Don't be afraid to pray. And certainly don't be afraid to listen. He will hear your prayer. He wants to hear from you. Speak to him. Speak to your heart. Speak your heart to him. You will have a friend in Jesus. And so until the next time that I speak, I want everybody here to be humming that song, What a Friend We Have in Jesus, because he is that tell me anything sort of friend. And for us, it's more than just a song. Amen. Now for next Sunday, I won't be here next Sunday. Right about this time, I'll be landing south of here, a long ways. So my beautiful bride, Reverend Miranda Worsech here, will be preaching next Sunday. So be ready. She has a beautiful message out of Ruth and the Gospels that I know you'll love. And I know you're going to come away with a greatly improved understanding of what the kinsman redeemer truly is. Perhaps you're like I was. See, Ruth is a pretty neat little book in the Bible. It's only 4 chapters. But how does that affect us directly? Now, I submit this to you. That little 4-chapter book is critical for us as Christians.